In subsequent chapters, we will begin to examine the depths of the great things that Nehemiah did in building the wall at Jerusalem. But right here, I want us to examine something. Nehemiah chapter 1, when we look at the very last verse of that chapter, it says, "In those days, I was a king's cupbearer." In those days, I was a king's cupbearer. So what does this tell us? Nehemiah was a servant. This is even more clearer when you read chapter 2, verse 1a. It says, "Early the following spring, in the month of Nisan, during the 20th year of King Artaxerxes' reign, I was serving the king his wine." Do you see that? I was serving the king his wine. So what does this tell us? It tells us that a leader is a servant. Despite the assignment that was ahead of him, ahead of Nehemiah, he was still very conscious about his service to the king. He was still very conscious about his service to the king. So what does this tell us about him? It tells us that he's a servant and he's a humble man. So when you call yourself a leader, you need to be rest assured that leadership is equal to service. Service and leadership go hand in hand. They go together. You're not a leader because you want everybody to bow to you and you want everybody to, or you just want to control everybody that follows you. But you're a leader because you want to be of service to others, because by so doing, you become an example for them to emulate, knowing that the person you're emulating is Christ himself. Sometimes when we go through challenges or when we face trials and tribulations, in our leadership styles or in leadership, we tend to abandon the responsibilities at hand and place our sole focus on the problems. Nehemiah faced a similar situation. He had a task at hand. He had something that was bothering him about his people at the province of Judah. Yet he had a responsibility to be the king's cupbearer. So, although he had received this news, although he had fasted and prayed about it, although he was still thinking of a strategy and a way out to be a blessing to them, he still knew that he had a responsibility to the king. And that responsibility was to serve wine to the king. He was the king's cupbearer. So, what is it that you're facing, as a leader, that causes you to abandon the tasks or your service to other people? We shouldn't misplace our priorities. As much as we are thinking about being a blessing or solving a greater problem, we still have a responsibility at hand that the Lord has entrusted us with, and we need to remain diligent to those responsibilities at hand while waiting for a strategy from the Father on how to move on. In this case, being a cupbearer, he maintained his responsibilities to the king until a time came when he was able to communicate and get, results and strategies on how to proceed. Amen. So all we are saying here is this: a leader remains faithful to his assignment despite how he feels. It tells us that he was serving the king his wine, and the verse continues by saying that I had never before appeared sad in his presence. Amen. Even though he was sad, he was diligent to continue in his assignment for the glory of the Lord. Amen.